if you don't know who this man is, he's now going to introduce himself.
I don't think I've ever introduced myself before to anything.
I know. This man has had multiple podcasts over the years.
I have
several YouTube channels.
A lengthy career on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even a little bit of music.
A little bit of music.
Yeah.
Started with zombies, then we did Fortnite. That was all one channel.
So introduce yourself for us for the first time ever.
So there's that. Then we had Top 10 Trends with Matt.
Which was a YouTube channel.
That was like a very generic list channel. Kind of just making videos. So there's that, zombies, YouTube, and now I do Minecraft.
And that's on YouTube.
And that's all YouTube. And then I have made like 5 songs.
5 songs, and that is with a goal to be making 500 songs over the next 5 years.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your goal? 505 years?
No.
Oh.
I made that up. But it's a good
Putting words in
tagline.
his mouth already.
Yeah. I think something I thought a little bit about with music, and like I think this is just for everything, is like you just got to put a lot of stuff out. I thought like maybe music was different, where like everything you put out, you got to really try to make perfect. And I've like never tried to ever make anything perfect. Like when you guys were setting this up, I was like, man, I never put this much effort into like making any of my content.
Wow. Clip it.
Dang, dude.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
So you think this is effort? Shit.
So you think YouTube content as a whole is something that can get away with being low effort and still be entertaining, but you didn't feel like music could be lower effort but still be listenable? Is that what you're saying, or no?
I think like for YouTube, definitely like low effort in the right places. Like you got to know where to be low effort.
Yeah, agreed.
You know what I mean? Because
Yep.
like there's like the important stuff is like being entertaining. You can't be like low effort there. But like, I don't know. Should the ISO be like 4,000 or like
Definitely not 4,000. Let's avoid that. Let's keep it a little lower than that.
Be a bit grainy.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like that stuff like I don't think about. But music, I think you need to be really perfect with it, but also like there's like a higher standard.
Yeah.
But there is still that point where you're like, you just got to let it go and put it out there.
So here's the thing. I think as someone who started his career with YouTube, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And then branched his career, still has YouTube stuff going on, but also doing music.
Yeah.
I think you just got good at making YouTube videos.
That's very true.
And so you already know how to do something in a low effort way and excel. Because you're cutting out the things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Whereas with a song that you're making, you're new to making songs. You made 5 songs.
You don't know what matters.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so you're like,
that's very
everything's
true.
got to be perfect. I've got to like tighten up all the screws here.
Yeah.
So
that is it for sure.
If the screw that's loose is the important one, you're going to flop.
That's true.
So I think that part of it is an expertise thing.
That actually, that is a really good point. But I think in general, if you're going to be like, I'm going to drop 10 perfect songs.
Yep.
I don't think you're going to be successful as if you're like, I'm going to drop 100. Because
all I'm thinking about right now is I listened to a podcast recently with the Chainsmokers, and they said that their selfie song was a total joke. They made it in 45 minutes.
There you go.
That's the song that blew them up.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good thing necessarily at the time, right? Like people made fun of them. It was a joke. People no one took them seriously, but they got their name out there, and now they're the Chainsmokers. Whether you love them or hate them, like they're huge.
They're into NFTs, I think.
To some degree, probably.
Pretty sure, yeah. I think I've seen them tweeting about it. Anyway, sorry, not to divert.
Just always bring up the NFTs, man.
Well,
sometimes we just want to talk about other
like,
things. All right?
Do you?
It's a non-fungible token.
Do you hate the fact that your channel is successful, Matt?
Which one?
The Matt's crypto channel.
Do I hate that it's successful?
Yeah.
I don't think it's successful yet.
Dude, it's successful.
You hearing him?
It's successful.
It's one video that's done really well.
I know. Isn't that the worst? Like
I don't feel like I have I don't know my audience yet. You know? And I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but I don't trust my audience yet because I don't know them. You know what I'm saying? Like with my other audiences, if I posted something, I knew how it was going to go more or less.
Yeah.
For multiple other channels, Top 10 Trends, MC Sport Talk, even Reddit Free. Like I knew to some degree, like who's watching, what they liked, what would do well, what wouldn't. This, I don't really know yet. I feel like a lot of them have just come into the space and are like trying to figure out and learn. And I've heard from a lot of people that are like, we found we watched your videos first. This is how we got in the space. We learned a lot from you. But I don't know if they're like consistent, loyal subscribers or they're just like that's their entry point into the space.
I can relate to that a lot with my new Minecraft channel. That I feel like I don't have like a connection with like a personal connection to that channel like I did with previous channels. And I'm like, now that you're saying that, I'm like, is YouTube different now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you have to make like content that is so tailored to what the channel is all about. And you can't just kind of be making like a little more personal stuff.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
I feel like I know what you're going to say.
This is the innovator's dilemma.
Ah, okay.
He's like, okay,
what
the hell are you saying?
Okay, so
what do you mean though?
I'm going to make a Minecraft video. I want it to do really, really well, get like out into the world.
Go ahead, Pat. I'm sorry.
I don't have time to like be like on the Smith Plays. I was so personal and I had like a podcast every week and it was like, yeah, this doesn't get a lot of views, but I don't care. It's like fun. And now I feel like on YouTube, it's like, I got to be no intro, straight to the content. As soon as the content's over, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Bye.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That is definitely true.
Yeah.
And comes at the sort of detriment of the content in many ways, because you're not thinking about making good content in some ways. You're thinking about making formulaic content to feed the beast that then interprets it as good content.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. I want to segue us into this topic in a certain way here, because I think there's some very interesting conversation to be had about being boxed in, and it's something that we've all experienced with YouTube channels in the past and etc. So I want to start us off by saying Matt and I have started this podcast without really knowing what this podcast is.
True.
We were chilling in his car, and we'll tell the full story some other time to save time now, and agreed to do it, but we don't have a lot of it figured out. We were just sort of working in prod. We were doing it on the fly. And we haven't been sure where to post it. And we haven't been sure how to title it, how to thumbnail it. If it's going to live on Matt's crypto, does that mean it has to be about crypto? Does that mean that we're going to be trying to shoehorn it into an pre-established audience's interests and sort of maybe cutting out some of the stuff that wouldn't be relevant to them? All those sorts of things. And so we've been having this conversation, and just earlier today, Pat, in response to us having this conversation in front of his face, said, I should probably give you guys like some advice here. Don't start a podcast. And obviously it's too late. It's happened.
Too late.
But I'm very interested to hear why that advice would be something that you might sort of think is like, well, why is it difficult? Why does it suck?
Yeah.
Why is it so tricky to get right? And then we can relate it back to what we were just saying about how you sort of end up boxed in with things, I think.
Right. Okay. So I think there's a good thing about a podcast and a bad thing.
Yeah.
So the good thing is like you just kind of free ball it for an hour and you can get some really awesome stuff from that because you're not really boxed in, other than like, this is like the medium we're doing it. But like the downside is that it's really hard to grow, I think. Because, okay, like, how are you going to convince a viewer that you're worth listening to like an hour that's never met you? It's just like, this is a podcast. Like, there has to be like some kind of like value in that, I think.
Right.
And if you're doing like an NFT or like a crypto podcast, then that makes sense to me. Because like, you know,
it's like technical information maybe.
Yeah. And people know like, okay, this is like what I'm getting. There's going to be some good information in here. So when you guys are talking about like you had like Brandon on, that to me, like that kind of makes sense, because it's like the three of you talking about NFTs, there's like so much knowledge between the three of you that if someone is like super into NFTs and wants to learn more, like there's like, I'm sure like some golden nuggets scattered throughout there. And if you're willing to listen to
they're scattered through my mic as well, because he's been farting into it the whole time.
So like that I can see is good. But if you're like, I just want to have a general podcast, that is, I just think that's a really tough thing to like make happen in 2022.
Right.
Like
and
2020, 2012?
Yeah.
2012?
Yeah.
2012? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
And I think that's partially because YouTube has evolved in the way that we were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure it's YouTube though. I just think generally, like, why would you listen to anyone? I'm not going to go and search up someone random and start listening to them talk about what they like.
Exactly.
You know, like you'd have to either be someone already like a celebrity or have, you know, some kind of clout, whether you're an athlete, like some perspective that's unique or worth listening to in the first place that draws me in. And then you realize, oh, I actually like the podcast, and that's how it would grow. But I think the biggest way that I follow any podcast that I do is because of the guests.
Yeah.
Right? Like Joe Rogan, I don't think Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan without the amount of ridiculous guests he's had.
Yeah.
Like he covers so many different topics in different areas. He happens to be ridiculously good at interviewing, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
But those people that he's brought on, that's why like I don't watch Joe Rogan regularly. I watch him on the episodes with like Conor McGregor or Elon Musk or, you know, or things that I care about, like the singularity, whatever. But I don't watch all of his other stuff. So I think those are the you know, ways in which you grow a podcast is obviously the guests you have on. So I agree with you though. Like it's super hard to grow a podcast.
Yeah.
We tried doing it a little bit, and you realize how quickly it is. Like if you're doing one a week, like you run out of ideas to talk about relatively fast.
So for context, Matt had another podcast recorded in this very room called Irrelevant that you were doing for about, what, a year? Is that?
Not even. We didn't make it to a year. Like
Okay.
6 to 8 months.
Sure. Okay. And it pretty much just stalled out,
Yeah.
as probably the majority of podcasts do. They like get a couple months in, it's like exciting at the beginning, and then it's like, well, how do we grow this? But what's interesting is, sorry to cut you off, the podcasting sector is so much bigger than it was 10 years ago. It's so big now. There's so much more advertising in it too. And so there's a lot of eyeballs there, or is in this case. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of dollars being spent, but trying to actually reach people with new content and create a new show is pretty damn difficult, where making a new YouTube channel maybe is less so, or no? Do you think it's especially difficult with podcasts because it's just audio? Yeah.
I mean, you can obviously have a podcast that lives on YouTube, but I think what you do then is you generate the content like specifically for YouTube, what will do well on YouTube.
Right.
The issues we ran into with the podcast for our case, in my opinion, were we didn't have the ability to get guests because we wanted to have them in person. I think in person is way, way better than like a Zoom or even Discord.
Yeah, it's not even close.
It's not even close. And so we started it like, I think end of 2020 and went into 2021 when COVID was still very much a thing.
Yeah.
And we couldn't really have people over. So we basically just had us two, and that becomes quite stale quite fast, especially when you're not able to go out and do stuff and there's not a whole lot happening because everyone else is also inside. Like it just wasn't a good mix of timing and opportunity, I guess. But the truth is, like, there were people that watched that podcast religiously every week, that like at least 2,000, I would say, that loved it and continue to ask months after we stopped doing it, when is the next Irrelevant coming out? So the loyalty you build with a podcast, I think, is far and beyond what you would build doing a YouTube channel well.
Did you experience that? Like that sort of really fixated
you know
listener?
What I would say is the first podcast I did, which was my solo one that I used to do on the Smith Plays, the Smith Squad podcast. Nothing got more love when I met people in real life on the podcast. They said, like, you know, I love your top fives and your live streams and all this stuff, but I like never miss the podcast. Same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's is because it is like you kind of being a little more vulnerable and open and just being a person rather than like trying to get like all these ideas about zombies or whatever out.
And
so that,
maybe that's also like you saying you're more vulnerable, a sign that it's a little bit less, let's make something tailored to the YouTube algorithm and more, let's make something good. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's a nice tie back to what we were saying earlier, where I think all of us started making YouTube videos because we wanted to just make good videos.
Yeah.
But nowadays a good video is no longer like a clear description because you have to ask by what standards.
Yeah.
By YouTube's standards, the website, the algorithm, the entire sort of mechanics of making a YouTube video and putting it on youtube.com. Or are we talking good in terms of something that your mate enjoys or you enjoy or you're proud of? That could be a good video that could suck on YouTube. We were just talking earlier about how there's like a long video meta now, which you've been experiencing with your Minecraft channel.
Yeah.
And that's a meta. So you can make a good video but it might not fit the meta, and then it's not going to do so well. Like if you're posting an 8-minute video right now, it's going to be a little bit more tricky maybe to find some success compared to posting
an
like
hour
an hour.
and 20.
Yeah. So when did you, with your Minecraft channel, because I know you mentioned this earlier before we started rolling, when did you start sort of pushing your Minecraft content into the longer video region? And do you think that makes the videos better?
So the first success we had with like longer videos being maybe 40 minutes was a year ago.
Okay.
And just due to like the channel, like the partner of that channel kind of falling apart, I didn't really get to dive into it until the start of this year. Okay. So the other guy left, Roman, for anyone who knows Roman, and digging out of the chaos of that, the start of this year, I said like, this is the kind of content I want to try to make. Just one really, really good video a month that's super big, super long.
Yep.
And I've always kind of wanted to get into that. I felt like at the end of me doing zombies, I was kind of already wanting to be there. And
yeah,
I just like, I didn't find zombies like allowed itself. I at the time, I couldn't think of a way to make really big, good zombies content. I did eventually with the retrospective series.
So with your videos going towards being longer,
yeah,
we've just been talking about how there is no necessarily clear single definition of what makes a good YouTube video. But do you think your content is better? You personally think it's better now that it's longer?
I'm like quite proud of every video I put out.
Okay.
Because I put so much into every video.
Yeah.
It's like 30 hours of recording alone, right? And then there's the editing on top of that and all the other stuff. I've only put out 4 videos on that channel this year, but I'm really happy with all of them. And in comparison, I think the complete opposite I've ever been to that was when I was making Fortnite content, which was maybe 4 videos a week. And it got to a point, it was just so mind-numbingly fake.
And repetitive, I guess, as well.
Repetitive. Like,
formulaic.
I didn't think my audience felt that, but I was just like, guys, why do you like what? You know, and that's like a weird thing to like, as the person making the content being like, why do you guys like this?
Yeah.
It feels like wrong to say that to your audience, but just like, I don't think this is good.
How many reviews came from people that are subscribed to your channel when you're doing Fortnite?
Man, that's
my
so
question
tough.
is, were your viewers enjoying it, or was YouTube's algorithm enjoying it?
Right. That's very true. I mean, I gained probably like 1 million subs from Fortnite. Dang. I was at like 1.8 million from zombies. And then also I probably lost a lot of zombies fans, a lot of unsubs, right?
Right.
So I gained a lot of subscribers, which would tell me I probably got quite a lot of consistent views.
Yep.
But like, if you want to compare that to zombies and like the dedication of like that community, nothing close, you know?
Yeah, that's what I imagine. The reason I asked that is because it's similar to what I'm seeing now. Like 92% of my views are not subscribed.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, and it's disproportionate because it's one video that has a ton of views, right? And not all those people subscribed, obviously. But it's much higher than previous channels. It's not, like I said, that's why I said I don't feel like I know the audience, because I actually don't. It's all one-time viewers, maybe 2-time viewers, but they're not subscribing. They're not consistent watchers. They're not super loyal necessarily yet. And it's because the nature of the niche that I'm in, I think it's so new and people are, flooding in and trying to learn about it. And that's the value my content provides, is like, what is this stuff? How does it work? Let me like figure it out on a YouTube video. And then they have their own journey, right?
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's like, I think where the views come from really matter in terms of what kind of content you want to make and what kind of content they want to see. Because I think a lot of the time it's not what the people actually want to see. It's what YouTube's algorithm wants you to post.
Yes.
And that is, I think this gets in the area that I feel like I've talked about 1,000,000 times, which is passion versus business.
Yeah.
There's a fine line of doing it because you know it's going to do well and it's going to further your growth, and ultimately that furthers your revenue. And as a business, you're trying to make revenue, right?
Yep.
But from a passion standpoint, like you said, you're making 4 videos a week. You feel like it's monotonous. It's the same thing every time. You're like, how do these people enjoy this? Because to you, it's like, I'm sick of this. Like it's cookie cutter, systematic, the same stuff every day. And I like, there's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be more purpose behind it. There's got to be more storytelling, more like good content to be made here than just, these are the new skins. This is the best one. This is the worst one. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think I think that's a struggle that I've had every single channel we've ever done together or separately. And it's routine. I love it when I start. I quickly run out of ideas and I realize that there's a handful of ideas that do really well. And if I just keep doing them, the channel will probably do really well. But in my internal nature, I hate it. I love to be spontaneous. I love to be creative. I love to not have a routine. It's polar opposite. I can't sit still and do one thing for a year straight and do nothing else. Like it bothers me like no end. So that's why I like having like 3 different businesses where in a week from now, we're going to go shoot with a UFC fighter. And then tomorrow I'm going to do an AMA and a mastermind call with NFT like investors, like completely different things.
Yep.
And I love being able to do both because if I sat down and do the same thing every day, I get really bored and I feel like uninspired. I feel like genuinely a little bit depressed because there's no creativity. It's the same thing every day. And even if it works internally, it's like you can only fight that so long. So, I mean, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how you guys have balanced in 13 years and probably about the same time, over 10 years of balancing like business versus passion and where that fine line is for you.
I mean, for me, my physics degree was a huge help in helping me not go insane for the exact reason you've just described, where I was blowing up on YouTube at the time. This is late 2015, early 2016. That year, my channel was going insane. Started it with 100,000 subscribers. End of the year with like 900K, 800K, 900K, something like that. Dang. Very, very successful year for me. My first time really finding success. I don't think I'd found success before that, like, to be honest. And with that success came a lot of hours that I was sinking into it. But because I had my degree constantly pulling me out of the room, so to speak, and into the lab, literally, I was switching between academic brain with the lab work that I was doing and then the creative brain on the YouTube stuff. And the constant back and forth meant I didn't go nuts, even though I was working all hours of every single day without weekends for 3 straight years. Like, it didn't burn me out because I was so mentally stimulated in different areas.
Yeah.
So I totally feel you on that point. In terms of the fact that since then I've not been doing a degree and I've been full-time on YouTube, there are times where it gets really difficult and it just sucks. It really is hard because you are constantly iterating on making your thing better. Like whatever it is that you're covering on the channel, and all of us have our respective niches on our YouTube channels. You really want to make sure that that thing you're doing is optimize the best. You're streamlining the process to make it done more quickly, more easily, to better quality, etc. And then you're also growing the channel itself and you're going for more views and all these things. And it can be really difficult to be doing all that and then be like, oh yeah, I did this last year as well, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before, etc. And I think a lot of people don't realize that as viewers when they see channels move over to Fortnite, for instance, with you, right? Where you pivoted into a new area and people were like, what the hell? He's abandoning us. It's like, well, that's one way to look at it if you're completely treating him as just a faucet for content. But if you remember that there's a person making the videos, it becomes a very different thing. You've done something for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. I think it's justified to be like, I need a challenge. I need something to creatively stimulate me. Yeah. And I guess Fortnite probably did that for you, certainly at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people looked at that. Like it felt controversial at the time when I left zombies.
Weirdly.
I know.
It shouldn't have been.
I know.
It's just people gatekeeping.
Smart move.
Yeah.
It was a smart move.
Yeah. The thing with that was it always was very genuine to me because I was so done with zombies like months before I got into Fortnite.
And you were really into the game.
And I was really into the game. And it was like, this is an obvious thing.
Yep.
And then Fortnite got huge.
Yep.
You know, so it kind of all worked out well. But yeah, at the start, it was just like, wow, this is a new thing. And I think to me, I wanted to prove myself that I could be more than just a zombies YouTuber. You know, like it wasn't like just zombies that made me. I wanted to like prove that I could be successful with like another game.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think one thing I noticed about you is from my perspective, we had the Z House, which was a content creator house that we did for a couple summers where we all lived in a house together, made content over the summer. We all had our respective, individual channels, but together we were able to make content and kind of grow our channels even more so. But the one thing I always remembered about you is that you went back to school.
Yeah.
And no matter what, I felt like you always needed to have something else besides just YouTube full time.
Yeah.
Or you weren't happy.
I know.
And I never understood that. After a couple of years, I started to understand it. So I was like, I've never actually had it where I'm just doing YouTube. I had, like you, I had college.
Yep.
Right? 4 years of college where I was nonstop. I was doing the channel and for pledging a fraternity and had 2 majors, like whatever. We're doing a lot. After that, we had the Z House stuff and I was doing production stuff as well. Like, I don't think I've really just been like just one channel on YouTube. And as soon as I got to that point, I realized, okay, it makes sense now. I see why he was unhappy and just couldn't find what was the fulfilling part. I was like, well, you can do YouTube full time. Like you can go crazy with it. You have such an advantage over like people that are in school or have to have another job or whatever.
Yes.
But I realized that you mentally
it's a fake.
Quickly become like, it becomes unfulfilling very fast.
And so like what, okay. You think more time is good. But like, I just think there's like some projects that don't need 8 hours to 16 hours a day or like 4 to 8. It just is like diminishing returns.
Yeah.
You know?
And in some cases, having the whole day to work on a video means it takes a whole day.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a lab session to go to, or if you've got a production shoot at 4 p.m. and you have to be there at 4 p.m., you finish your video before 4 p.m. So it's almost like it's not just diminishing returns, because it's not just you're putting more in and the extra video you make does less well. It's actually you're putting more in, but you don't make another video. Mm-hmm. You get the same amount of stuff out.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's very, very weird.
Yeah. Like, dude, the most successful I ever was on YouTube was like the least amount of time I was putting into it.
Okay. That's a great point because I'm tying this back to the first thing we talked about with perfection in music.
Okay.
Which I wanted to, all I was thinking about when you were saying that is I feel like it's somewhat similar in YouTube, but you just don't realize that until you try to perfect a video. Certain things, yes, you have to make it like adhere to the algorithm, and there are certain things you can make a video better, more entertaining, whatever. But I feel like at some point there is diminishing returns. Maybe it's not like tangible, but mentally it's like if I have until 4 p.m. to make a video, I'm going to make it as good as I can until 4 p.m. and I'm going to put it out and it's going to do what it's going to do. If you have 8 hours to make it, you're going to try to make it damn near perfect. And you may think that it deserves to have more views and do better. And if it doesn't, that messes you up mentally.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts to eat you alive, I think. Because right now when I'm focusing on content like day to day and I see like an 8 out of 10 video where it doesn't do well.
For context, 8 out of 10 means of the last 10 videos, this has performed the second worst or the third worst.
Yes.
Because there's 7 other videos that have performed better out of the last 10.
In whatever time frame you're looking at after the video is posted, which is a great feature, but one of the worst for mental stability of all time, I would say. Because you post a video, 2 hours later, you see if it's like a 7 to 10 out of 10, like in the bottom 3,
feels bad.
You're feeling bad that day.
Yeah.
Like that's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
And I'd say that people that continue to do YouTube as their career are really good at handling that kind of mental issue, but it doesn't stop. Like no matter how many times it happens, I'm like, dang, dude, like I thought this one would be higher than that.
Yep.
And that's tough to do day in and day out, all day, every day. Like if that's all you're focusing on, you kind of start to feel bad about yourself a little bit. Even if your channel, like you guys said before, the channel I'm running now is successful, right? Yeah, to some degree it's successful and it's doing well against other NFT content and channels. But when I see day after day, like an 8 out of 10, I'm like, dude, why is like, I feel like the content I'm posting now is better than 2 months ago.
But it's what we talked about the other day.
But it's not doing as well. And it really bothers me.
But it shouldn't. And you will drive your own hair follicles gray so much faster than you need to, unless you recognize the fact that the market dynamics control the viewership just as much as your own hard work does, which we've discussed, right?
Yep.
I'll say it again, and I'll give you some context here. We've been talking about exactly this problem, right? And I've said that one of the most important things that I've needed to come to terms with over the years is that if my video suddenly performs really badly, it might not be because I've fallen off and I am really bad. Like it might not be a personal issue. It might just be YouTube's having a bad day, or people have gone back to school, or half of America has finals that week, or whatever it is, right? And that's something that we've all had to learn in our own ways over the years. And it's a really difficult thing to actually internalize it, but it prevents you from going totally nuts when videos start underperforming over and over and over again. And you realize, oh, wait, this isn't something where I need to reflect on myself and think, man, I suck. But rather, oh, does this mean I'm targeting a niche which is no longer popular? Maybe that's the case in your channel's instance.
I'm not like, I don't internalize it that much, and I don't hate on myself like that. It's not that extreme at all. I'm saying like,
but it's easy to get
if it's temporary, even 2-3 months, and it's just bad for a while, that's fine. Yep. Totally used to that. That's ebb and flow of YouTube. That's how it's going to be. If it becomes a thing where it's constant, like every video, I can't, no matter what I try to do, I can't seem to get back to where I thought I was.
Yeah.
That's when I really start to worry about stuff.
Yes.
And the thing is that you start to ask questions like you were asking before, like, what is it? Is it people on vacation? Is the market down? Is viewership just bad right now? Or is it me doing something that I just don't realize and I don't know what the answer to the question is? And then I go crazy thinking about what is it? Yeah. Trying to figure out what it is. And that's just a game I don't want to play.
Is that something that eats you up?
A little bit. The way I can relate to it is, so I'll just tell you the videos. Like 2 years ago, I started making Minecraft videos, and it was like beating Minecraft in an interesting way. 2 years ago, beating Minecraft in a single video was like not that new, but it was pretty novel. So wow, like this isn't just a hardcore, part 1 through 999, right? It's like the whole video is one video, right? And some of those videos, like 3 million views, right? Holy, like that's awesome. And then kind of that same thing is like you have that bang because you gave out this new idea. A year later, those videos were doing like 80K because it's just not an interesting idea anymore. That's
a lot of like fall off as well, isn't it?
Right?
From millions to tens of thousands is pretty difficult.
So I think there is something like, I don't know, just with that of like always just pushing yourself to try to put out new content because it has to be interesting to you. But I do think like with your audience, they just get used to what like,
I mean, things get stale.
Yeah, that's right? Exactly it. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But I just think there's so much in the idea of the video. And that's how I've been trying to think about things this year is like, before I start recording or anything, like having the thumbnail and having the title, exactly how I'm going to title it.
That's a transition that I think the platform has really made over the last couple of years where if you're thinking about it content first now, you're thinking about it wrong.
Yeah.
Which sucks ass.
I know.
And I will scream from the rooftops. It's the worst thing in the world.
I hate that that's how it is. And I haven't actually adapted to the way that it should be, where I'm thinking of title and thumbnail first and then making content around that. Because that to me sounds so wrong.
It rips out
like
the
it sounds
creative
so like
heart
I don't want to think
YouTube.
like I can think of 20 banger titles and thumbnails right now. And I have them on my Trello. I have like 40 ideas that are like great content, but I can't fit the actual video to what the title is.
Right.
Because it's like almost too clickbait. Like it's really good. It's really like, and it could happen, but it's not how it actually is. And it's not the content that I want to make.
And you don't want to, that's the thing. You don't want to be like, you don't want to clickbait. Like you want to give people exactly what the title is.
Right.
Clickbait's such a weird term though as well.
Yeah.
Because I think viewers hear clickbait and they think bad.
Yeah.
Whereas I hear clickbait and I think all of us have there's that distinction between the stuff that is actually negative where someone clicks on the video expecting one thing and then they've been baited because it's not at all of interest to the viewer.
Yeah.
It's pure it's like you're being scammed with your time, right?
Yeah. But that's just
but then at the same time, I'll use the word clickbait these days to talk about like, wow, that's perfect bait. That's like an incredible clickbait because it's just a banger title.
Yeah.
Banger title's a great clickbait.
Yeah. What you mean is it's enticing.
Yes. Oh, it's so enticing. It's just that you obviously want to deliver when they click.
Yeah.
But I also think a lot of viewers think that you should only do what the title is in the video. But you should not. And all the most popular YouTubers, you can pick any YouTuber that you guys might watch under the sun. Any single one is not only making a video that is exactly described by the title. There's subplots, there's tangents, there's all these other things that are going on. And as soon as you can constrain yourself to just the title, like you're saying, content becomes weak as hell. Like you have to essentially, with YouTube right now, it's sadly, in some ways, all a game of baiting someone with an incredible title, but then acknowledging that interest, but giving them other reasons to stay that are not the title. So you've got 40 banger titles, but you need 40 banger segues. And those are the things that will then mean that all of those videos go from being a 4-minute, really good little nugget, but it's just sort of like a bait thing. And it will turn it into, this is actually a 9-minute video where they thought they were going to get one thing and they got it and it was great, but that made them realize they also needed ABC 1, 2, 3.
You got to deliver on that first thing and then
over deliver on the rest of the video, which is not how it used to be.
No, it's changed. And I think like in some ways it's good because that's a big thing is like you want to really deliver in like those first 10 seconds that you're going to give the audience what they clicked for.
Yeah.
And remember, it used to be like phase videos. Oh my God, I can't believe what happened. And you got to watch till 7 minutes in. And it's like, that's like not really good for the viewer. So I think things have gotten good for the viewer. But what I don't like is I feel like so many channels now are trying to like copy Mr. Beast's formula to a T, where they even start their intros with like the exact same like way that Mr. Beast speaks.
Yep.
It's like, I did this.
Yep.
And all this.
We're going to do this today,
right?
But first, and then like a water balloon explodes or something. It's like, wow.
And it's such a good way to like hook someone. And then there's like the whole video.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like so many people are doing that.
Yep.
And I think like eventually viewers always get bored. Like this way of hooking people, I think it's going to get boring. And I think like this is maybe what I hope is that there's going to be a point where people are going to want more creative ways to interest you.
No way.
You don't think like
not
people
gonna happen.
are never going to get bored of like, I did this.
Well, the question, the implicit question you're asking is at what level psychologically that appeals to a human, the human brain. Is it just a primal fundamental thing where we are interested in big facial expressions and overly emotive language and overly emotive vocal tone and all these sorts of things? Lots of hard cuts straight back to back to back to back to back of different colorful things happening with lots of motion to keep your eye interested.
Sounds like you're tripping.
That it does. I haven't been watching Mr. Beast. I've been like doing something else. But what I'm saying is that something which just fundamentally as a human interests us?
Yeah.
Or is it interesting right now because it's new, because there wasn't media like this 10 years ago? And I think that the argument is people will get bored if it's just because it was something new that wasn't around 10 years ago, in the same way that people got bored of certain kinds of horror films being made. And now horror films are very different. People got bored of certain types of TV and they pivoted the way that a game show might work or a reality TV series might be shot or whatever. Like these things obviously shift as time goes by.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've experienced this with your production company where trends from a couple of years ago probably now are totally out of fashion, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, new shooting styles and like
all the time that demand is going to change,
frequently.
right? Yeah.
It might be kind of like the music industry in the sense that like people always complain that the music industry is very formulaic now, but you've got like that super formulaic, really popular because it does know how to be entertaining, and appealing to a lot of people. But like, I guess that kind of is how YouTube is now. And then like you have your more niche kind of creative people that don't do as well, but are like more so enjoyed by hardcore fans because they're creative.
Yes, and I think that's a really, really good analogy, but I think the mistake to make would be to say pop music is going to become unpopular.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Mr. Beast style is pop music. And pop music by definition is popular.
Pop videos.
Yes.
New term.
JC Beast, Mr. Backfire. Mr. Beast is making pop videos.
Yes.
And that's totally fine and awesome. And he's incredibly good at it. And his team are fantastic at it. Shout out, Chucky.
Hey.
But the more creative stuff that you're talking about, it still exists on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah, that's very true.
But yes, it is not the tuned pop genre, which we all know bangs.
Yeah.
And it bangs because it's pop.
Mm-hmm.
Which YouTubers do you guys watch most frequently?
Cody Townsend.
What does he do?
Skis. Big mountains.
Okay.
Dude,
Does he start his interest like, I went to the biggest mountain in the world and skied it in 15 minutes? Is that how he starts his videos?
Right?
It is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you watch?
Dude, I don't even know who I watch. Can you pass me my phone and I'll tell you? Like,
That's sad that you don't know who you
like
watch.
I mean,
the algorithm is good.
If you asked me beyond Cody,
Well, who else?
I don't watch a lot of YouTube.
Okay.
I don't really watch YouTube videos and I don't really play
In
video
the
games.
last 13 years doing YouTube as a career, did you not watch it all? Typically?
I'm not really a fan of anyone. No.
Okay, but you know Mr. Beast, right? Like obviously we're
Yes,
having
but
examples here. So
I've only seen 3 of his videos.
Okay.
I've seen I've dipped in for research and I've been like, I've watched this intro 5 times and
Do
been
you
like, that's
consume
crazy.
other types of media?
I read books. I watch films. Yeah. I don't really watch TV. It's not really my thing, but I'll listen to music. Yeah.
Okay. What would you say you spend most of the time on then? Like
It's a mix, man.
a mix between books and music?
books, music,
Podcasts?
and reading Twitter. Sadly.
Is that consuming?
Sadly, sad reality.
Fair enough.
Sadly, that is
Okay.
media consumption.
So you're not really watching a lot of YouTube.
No.
Okay,
Unless it's for work.
I got one. Do you guys know Jake Tran? I feel like no, neither. Okay.
Vaguely.
I feel like I've
familiar
heard that
He,
name.
he does like pretty cool content on business and
Okay, no, I don't know.
empires and evil people and
Oh, cool.
billionaires and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
You know, he'll talk about evil companies or NFTs.
They're like long videos, right?
10 to 20 minutes.
Okay, maybe it's a different guy.
They're neat though. They're really neat. So there's one YouTuber I watch and he doesn't have a,
Right.
but he always has an interesting hook, right?
Right.
Because it's a more adult themed content.
And why do you watch that kind of content?
I find the subject matter interesting, but he also presents it really well.
Right.
This could be going in a good direction.
I'm curious. Yeah.
Well, I mean, where do you think it's going?
I am not someone that consumes media for the sake of consuming media. And that's why I watch very little TV. I really struggle to sit down and watch a TV show because the whole time I'm there, I'm like, why aren't I doing something else? This is a waste of my time. I could be doing something else. What am I doing?
It's not productive?
It's not productive, yeah.
Okay.
And part of that is very toxic because it's hustle culture in the back of my subconscious telling me I have to be working all the time, which is something that I think probably all of us struggle with in our own ways, right? So I really, really struggle with it, with TV especially. It feels so draining to know I'm sitting down watching a TV show. There's something about that like just makes me cringe, weirdly, very weirdly. And
But you don't feel that way about reading?
No, reading almost never I get that feeling. It feels like a different kind of mental stimulation that for me is positive. But again,
What about
the
games?
fact I have the same problem with games.
Okay, so
I
games
will
and
not-
TV are similar, but reading's different.
Yes, but again, I want to be clear. I'm not passing judgment on those mediums.
No,
I'm just
I
saying
don't think you
for
are.
me, I, for whatever reason, have grown up with whatever environmental stimuli have provoked this in me, where I struggle to get away from that feeling. And I think it's a toxic thing, but it's there.
You said before you watch videos for work.
Yes. So that's the thing. If I'm watching YouTube for a purpose, and that's where it comes back to you maybe watching Jake Tran and me watching Cody Townsend, like I feel like I'm learning a huge amount from a lot of his content because it's ski content that is sort of aspirational for me. And it's something that I'm like, well, I maybe want to ski that line one day, or I want to see what he's doing to scout that line. And I'm learning a lot from it. Or it's a work thing where I'm checking out someone like Mr. Beast, who's clearly killing it in what he's doing. Or I'm seeing a new YouTube format of a video that I've not seen before, or it's maybe a type of content that I want to make at some point, but I want to see how people are approaching it right now, those sorts of things. I never feel like that's a waste of time. And I'll do that here and there. But on the whole, I don't watch reams and reams of YouTube videos.
What would you say the reason is for reading?
Because it can, well, it depends. Fiction, nonfiction, I would say is different answers. The nonfiction stuff is maybe
Do you read it,
self-apparent.
do you just read in your downtime for enjoyment, or do you read
Yeah,
for?
I read a book the other day. I bought a book like 3 days ago, read it that day. I just finished it. I was like, oh, okay, yep. Yeah, it wasn't a very good book, I didn't think. It was, they both die at the end. is the name of the book.
Spoiling the book
Yeah,
for
what
us.
the-
Come on, dude.
That's the name of the book. And I thought it was okay. The last book I read. I could talk about books all day.
The books don't give you that hustle like itch.
Well, nonfiction, if I'm reading a nonfiction book, then yeah, I can get a lot out of that for the hustle thing.
okay, so
I see the itch is
through
in.
line I'm seeing
Yeah.
here on all of them
Yeah.
that's not meant for entertainment or enjoyment
Yeah.
is you want to learn and just build that knowledge because you think it seems like it's adding to your work ability.
Yeah. I mean, that's how my brain works.
The more you know, the better you can do. You know,
Yeah.
better you can do in
Yeah.
different
I
areas.
like learning.
Right. And that's why I can see why the TV stuff, you're like, oh, this is a waste of time because you're not really learning anything. It's more about story. And typically I'd say it's more entertainment purposed.
Unless I'm watching a show that I think is shot especially well or something like that. And I learn a lot just visually. I'm constantly breaking it down in my head of like, oh, this shot, for example, what's a good basic example? Mr. Robot. I really like the framing of a lot of the shots in that show because it's really atypical. There'll be like a shot and it's the full 16:9 rectangle and someone will be only 20% of the frame and the rest of it is a building, dead air behind them. That sort of thing interests me
Do you watch Breaking Bad?
as a creative. I have seen some of it. I haven't seen the full thing just yet, but
Cool shots in that.
Very unique shots.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least at the time, we're like
Right.
groundbreaking.
Yeah. And I love those sorts of things because it nourishes the creative in me. But again, it's like background learning that I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, I can make an argument for anything you do in life, you're learning something.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say so. But
Mostly.
what I don't like so much is the feeling of
There's a couple things I can think of that aren't necessarily.
We're probably thinking of the same things.
But
but are there actually things that the way you're not learning because you're having a new experience?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like taking a poop. You know, like I'm not really learning a whole lot taking a poop. I do it a lot. Do it pretty much every day, and it's usually the
like-
same
I
process.
feel like maybe
It's
you
like
are, though.
99% learned. Like there is like,
yeah,
you know,
like certain things you're not going to learn a whole lot.
Okay, I'm gonna go there. But you are learning in those moments because, like, if you take a poop and you're like, "Damn, I'm constipated as hell right now," you're gathering information about your
Sure,
environment.
okay.
like you're
This is
you're
hustle
learning new
culture
things.
to its highest degree. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna poop because I am gonna learn something and it's worth my time. TV, no, but poop, I'll do it.
information diet.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Dude, your poop's a little runny. You're like, I've been having too much information for breakfast. Like, I gotta sort that out real quick. But yeah, no, I don't know. Media consumption's always been a weird one for me in that regard. I didn't grow up with a TV in my house. There was no
that could be
TV.
part of it.
And so the way, like I said, environmental stimuli causing me to feel this way, the way that I learned to look at TV as a medium is like, oh, that's a waste of time. Because that's what my parents instilled in me.
Yep, that definitely makes sense then.
Yeah. And it's hard for me to kick that habit. But when I do kick the habit, it's because I'm like gripping onto, wow, the cinematography in this is stellar or whatever it might be. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like kind of weird when it comes to TV.
Okay.
Okay, so I think probably, Milo, I know you've talked about hyperfixation, and I assume all of us probably to an extent do that because we get super into stuff.
I struggle, man.
For me with TV, I'm kind of weird because I can watch one episode of a show, try to get into it, and it just not most of the time I
Bounce off.
Yeah, and I'm the same thing. I'm like, this is boring. I'm antsy, but when a show hooks me, it's like anything else that hooks me, and I want to like binge the show in a night.
Okay.
And it's like
Yeah.
it has me up to like 3 a.m. just watching and watching and watching.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, there's something about like the way I fixate on things that I can't get into everything. And it has nothing to do with productivity.
Do you feel that with
but-
YouTube?
Yeah, absolutely.
You like find a new channel, you're like, this is sick. You binge 15 videos.
Yeah, and right now, like the content that I'm making is super engrossing because it's this big 30-hour project. So it's like I feel like I literally, like when I'm recording one of those videos, like I'm not thinking about anything
Or when
else.
you're making the video, you're talking about.
But even when that project is ongoing,
Yeah.
I gotta take garbage out. No, you know?
No, I'm going to edit more instead.
Yeah. And it's just like adult responsibilities, car needs to get taken care of.
Yeah.
All that goes out the window.
Oh, dude, I could talk about this for a long time. Do you have the same thing?
No, I don't think as much.
I
Less so.
literally like lose grip on reality when I'm hyperfixating.
I've seen that when working with you.
Yeah.
I think
struggle.
I've seen that where you
Yeah.
lock in and you are in there.
Yeah.
Like you're in another world.
Yeah.
I have self-described, and I don't want it to sound like I'm bigging myself up, but like I think I have deeper focus than the majority of people. Like I get really deep in the tunnel, and that's not necessarily a good thing because it means that I'm totally awful at jumping between lots of small tasks. So bad at it. I get scatterbrained instantly. I'm like, I need to do one thing, and I can do one thing at an extreme level, or I can do lots of things awfully, so poorly. And we've struggled with that when we've worked together.
I see that I can get behind. I think multitasking is like a bullshit term.
Yeah.
And yet some people can juggle, man.
No.
How?
Some people can juggle. What, juggle? What'd you say?
Yeah, they can.
People are
have
good at that.
ongoing tasks and still.
Some people are better at it, but I would argue that and this is where I think there's a difference. The way you get even farther than I do, right down the rabbit hole. Like your focus level on certain things, and I've seen it when working with you.
Mm-hmm.
When you are focused on something, truly, you are very deep in focus. Like nothing else even registers. Sometimes I'm not as hardcore as that, but I think one of the reasons I've always had an issue with streaming, and I think you do to some degree as well, is I can't play a game well and be engaging with chat at the same time, because those are two, in my opinion, tasks that it take a lot of mental energy to be what I consider to be at my peak of what I can perform on each one. Right. So if I'm doing both at the same time, I'm pretty bad at both, like objectively. And I noticed that quite fast, and I was like, this is a problem.
Right.
Because when I focus on chat, I die in the game, and that ruins the whole stream.
Yeah.
If I focus on the game, I find myself not talking to chat for like 20 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And then I tune back in, and they're like, why doesn't this guy ever answer? Is this even live? And I'm like, this is an issue. I can't do both.
I have actually noticed that in your streams where
it's bad.
I've joined
and I recognize that, and I'm like, I have to stop doing this.
You will not talk.
It's bad. I'm like just genuinely bad at it, because I find that when I'm not as, I don't get as deep as you, so I can perceive other stimuli going around, but when I do something, I want to do it well. I have to focus on it. And I think when other people multitask, objectively, I think they're doing both tasks at a lesser degree than someone who's focused on just one task.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like important to note about yourself, to know like,
to know your ability to,
and in the same way we're talking about like streaming, you learn that by doing these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Do you feel like you can juggle both, where you're like focused enough on the game that it's maintainable and you can still have all these weaving conversations with chat and not have sort of too much of an issue? Or
I kind of think like, I mean, I have been a pretty consistent streamer, like especially through zombies. Like for a lot of my like main time in zombies, I streamed. Like that was my thing.
That was your main content.
And so now that you're saying that, I'm like, actually, I'm pretty like good at that.
You are.
I think you are.
You are objectively much better than I am, and I would say one of the best I've seen.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I mean, here just for some context, so you don't have to say it yourself. Like when we were at Z House, there were times where you were streaming like 4 hours a day every day.
That's true. Yeah.
And you were holding great viewership. The stream was entertaining. You completed the challenge you set out to do, which were not easy challenges. Like you were able to do both to a higher standard than most people, I would say.
And it's actually really funny because my girlfriend has said that. She's like, that is multitasking. You're talking and gaming. And I don't like, because I think I'm bad at most multitasking, but for some reason, I think I've been able to like mold that into one task in my brain.
Yep.
And I think a lot of what it is I've gotten really good at talking without thinking about what I'm saying.
Yep.
And I
know that feeling.
And then I got really good at playing zombies without thinking about what my actions are.
Can I relate this to something weird?
Sure.
Have you guys found in your lives with your partners that sometimes you'll be receiving information from them and they'll be telling you, it might be something totally unimportant, but you're in a task and you're having a conversation with them, but all like 95% of your focus is on the other thing.
Yeah.
But you're still having a conversation. And do you ever have this moment where you tune back in and you're like, how was I listening? Like, I don't know how I was doing that.
Kind of.
Because that happens to me. I think this is, again, maybe...
But do you know what the conversation was about?
Only because this vague, weird part of my like peripheral vision of my ears.
Okay, but you couldn't say what you were just Could you say what
Oh,
you're
dude,
talking
it's
about?
weird.
Okay.
I'll be like, and they'll be like, are you listening? And I'll repeat exactly what they said back to me. Like, or I'll repeat it back to them. Like, I'm listening, but so much, and this may be more so for me because of my hyperfixation, but so much of my focus is on another thing. Like, for instance, this is a good example where it happens, right? I'm not just ignoring my partner. We might be watching a TV show together or something, or a film. A film is a better example. We're watching a film. They might say something to me, and they're talking about maybe something that's happening in the film. I can't hear them. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm focused, so I can't hear them. But my peripheral ear heard every word that they said.
Ear.
And if they're like, are you even listening to me? I'll be like, yeah, you just said,
Oh,
but I don't know. That is not in my head until they pull it out of me.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying about how you're talking without knowing you're talking almost, you're not thinking about it with YouTube is a similar thing where there's like a muscle in your brain where you're not actually reading chat in a sense of reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
You're not internalizing chat. You're just sort of scanning this thing and bouncing your peripheral ear off it.
Yeah.
Whereas all your focus, or 95% of it, is actually on the game, making sure you don't die.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a weird skill.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like when it's the hard part is like zombies, like some difficult part, then the focus is there and the talking is like that weird peripheral thing. But if it's like very like whatever zombies, like maybe you're just running around grabbing things and stuff, then it's like
you can focus on chat
that's
more.
an easier probably way to understand it is like, you're not really thinking about like walking down the hallway and going right and like going through the portal and whatever.
Yep.
You're talking to chat more.
Exactly. And that's because the game is no longer requiring so much focus.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, I've got free focus to direct somewhere. The way I describe it is like, when I'm talking about my focus and my hyperfixation, I often say to people, I have a really strong lighthouse beam. So I can point it somewhere and it's bright as hell, but everywhere else is dark.
Yeah.
And so if you expect me to be able to see in the dark, I can't. I can't do that. But I can see everything that is illuminated by the beam crystal clear. And
that's a good way to put it.
I don't know how else I can't expand the beam. I can't take some light from here and put it over there and pick and choose. Yeah. It's just the way it is.
I find it hard kind of just in normal life because I find like people think I'm weird and like airheaded.
People think I'm weird.
Well, just like an airhead because I'm like not paying attention to anything because I'm like locked into one thing. What I used to do, I was really bad, is I would be on my phone and people could be like talking to me and being like, Pat, and I'm just on my phone and I have no idea that they're saying anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like people think like it's just like this judgment that gets passed on me. That's like, man, you're so out of it. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just how I am.
Yeah.
You know, it is like I'm like I can focus, but like
this is actually that exact example is actually like somewhat of a problem, or I think a problem in my personal life with some family and Jess to some degree. The phone thing specifically, because it's like a lot of time I'm on the phone answering messages or doing something work related.
Yep.
Whether it's important or not is somewhat irrelevant, but people that are around me will feel like I'm being rude or like not paying attention, and I'm the same thing as you. Like when I'm actually doing something and pouring my energy, like my your
lighthouse beam.
My lighthouse beam is on this thing. I'm kind of phasing out everything else. And people tend to think that's like a rude thing, or like, you know, you're always on your phone. Like, you're never socialize. Like, that makes me upset because I don't feel like I'm being rude. And I don't feel like if I'm on the phone and focused on it, I feel like you can see that. And like, if you know me well enough, like that's where I'm at. That's where my head is at. And I'm getting my full attention to that. And when I'm over here on you have my full attention too.
I think it's a communication thing, right? If you are having a conversation with someone, let's say right now you pulled out your phone and you were on it, I would still be expecting you to be having a conversation with me because we're shooting a conversation right now, right? And if you needed to be on your phone, if you were like, give me 30 seconds, straight away it signals to me, oh, he needs to tunnel, right? That's what you're asking for. You're asking for a moment of tunnel.
Yeah.
And so it's about being able to read those sorts of cues. Whereas earlier today, I remember you got to my house and my phone binged or something, and I took a little look at it, and I think I responded to a message. But in that moment, I remember being like, Pat's just got to my Airbnb. He's just got into the state as of 12 hours ago. I want all my focus to be on him. I don't want to be focusing on my phone. So even though I was responding to a message real quick, I was still very purposefully trying my best not to let the beam land on the phone. It's like the beam was like moving down, and I was like, no, get back up there.
Yeah. I remember that.
Dog.
But then
Focus should be Pat.
But I knew it was going down, and you had like 6 texts.
Yeah.
So I was like, let the beam descend.
Let the beam descend. Yeah. But then I like quickly and then got back to the convo. But it's a curse, I think, in many ways, as much as it is a blessing. Like the only reason I did as well in my degree as I did is because I was able to ignore my degree, other than the lab work, which I had to do during the year and hand-ins and stuff. The other studying around the degree, I ignored. And I did YouTube full time, 24/7. And then in the month before all the exams, or the finals, as you call them in America, I would Lighthouse beam on the exam work and the studying and the revision, as we call it in the UK. And I would revise for 19 hours a day, complete tunnel vision, and grind harder for that than any of my mates were able to do, because they just didn't have that tunnel sort of focus. They couldn't tap into that in the same way. A lot of my mates experimented with nootropics, things that help you focus more, things in America, like you've got your like Adderalls and your Ritalins and stuff like that. But there's other ones. An example, if I can remember the name, it's modafinil. Is one of these drugs that you can order online. You have to buy it from like outside the UK, it gets shipped in. But the point of the drug is to try and focus you so that whatever task is in front of you, you do like a drone mindlessly. And it was interesting because a lot of my friends at university doing a physics degree, like you're under such strain to get through that work. They would be taking these things. They would wake up at 6 a.m. They would take the drug. They'd go back to sleep for 30 minutes. They would then wake up, have their morning coffee and stuff. And whatever task was in front of them by 9 a.m., they would just do that all day, and they would like forget to do anything else. They would forget to eat in some cases. They would forget to take their laundry out. But the risk was that at 9 a.m., if they saw they had some laundry on the floor, they would tidy their house for 6 hours because their Lighthouse beam was on another task, and they didn't have that thing that's normally there when you're not taking the drug to divert them back to what they wanted to be doing. So they were just like, I'm being productive. I've seen a task that I need to do. 7 hours pass. You're like, oh, wow, I've been in this trance sort of thing. I tried the drug and was like, what the hell? This just makes me feel like I normally feel. Like it genuinely was like, the only difference is my stomach didn't like it. I like felt sick. I was like, this sucks. I can just do this naturally. If I can just turn this on, why would I need something for it? So I never took it again.
I almost wonder if that's like a common thing amongst people that maybe do YouTube or have that kind of like hustle mentality.
I wonder.
I don't know if that's a core. I mean, it seems like all three of us experience it to some degree.
I feel like a lot of streamers have to be taking like Adderall. The people streaming like
even if they don't hyperfixate sort of thing, you think that they're medicating in some way?
Yeah, not even searching for the hyperfixation because they're probably good at focusing, but like some people stream a lot, and I just don't know how like
G Fuel, dude.
You can be putting in those hours. Well, G Fuel is sometimes not enough.
This is interesting. The hyperfixation is an ADHD symptom, and I do think a lot of streamers have ADHD.
That would make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of content creators also have ADHD. And so I think that there's a large argument to be made that is something that, as much as ADHD can be extremely destructive to your life, and it's not necessarily like something to glorify in any way or anything like that, it's a really difficult thing to manage. And for some people it's debilitating. At the same time, symptoms and elements of things that do fit under the umbrella of what ADHD can manifest as, because it manifests differently in everyone, are really common in streamers, I feel like. And so it's interesting that Adderall and Ritalin and all those sorts of things, they are ADHD meds.
Yeah.
That's literally what they are.
Yeah.
So if streamers are taking them in order to be able to really like hyperfixate and focus in their streams and stuff like that, maybe they're getting what they need as well, sort of proxy.
That's true. Yeah. I guess, yeah. I think I was thinking about it more from like a wakefulness perspective of just like you're streaming 16 hours. Like,
yes,
16 hours, boy.
Dude, there are some people who stream like at least 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
That is brutal.
Like dude, 6 days a week, 12 hours. Like I would need Adderall for that.
Yeah. Most people would, I think.
Yeah.
12 hours of streaming is not the same as well. As much as a lot of viewers will struggle to get their heads around this concept.
Not coming down on the retail workers.
No, not at all. It's a different type of strain.
It's
totally different. It's indescribable if you're trying to compare it to, that's like, when I say retail, I'm only saying that because that's one of the only things that I have a little bit of experience in outside of my YouTube work. Most of the time in my life, I've just made YouTube videos, but there's that level of exhaustion that you get from like just sort of working in a shop or whatever it is. But the type of exhaustion with streaming, honestly, you get to the end of a long stream, sometimes you feel like you can feel the brain damage.
Yeah, it's like
it's
gross.
Yes.
Is how I would describe it.
That
like really long, like back in the days of like a new Easter egg dropping, I think is the best way to relate it. Man, like it's a bad feeling.
This is
I can't help but laugh, bro. Like,
I mean,
we all know what we're talking about, but I feel like no one else that hasn't streamed is going to have any clue what it feels like.
It's like, so the way I describe it, and this is something that you'll be able to back me up on because this is exactly what happened to me for the launch of Cold War. This is Zombies that came out in the end of 2020. End of 2020. A new Call of Duty game comes out with a new Zombies mode in it that I'm covering really extensively, and Matt's working with me on my channel at the time to help edit content and do a bunch of stuff. We got a week in, maybe, and I'd slept for maybe 10 hours across those 7 days, and this exact streamer fatigue started to set in my brain, where it feels like someone has their hand on the back of your brain and is just squeezing it. It's like this weird mental lock. I can't think, I can't do anything. Matt would ask me, we need something basic, really basic. We need a title for this video, right? And titles aren't always basic, but we need a title for this video. Hours would pass and I would be unable to apply myself to a thought, one thought, because all of your mental capacity is ripped out of your head and it's replaced with this feeling of like it's filled with this
that could also
infinitely heavy weight.
Partially sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Like you might just not have slept enough.
Yes, but it's the same
definitely
feeling.
Yeah.
When I get to the end of
similar.
a 16-hour stream, which I've done lots of.
The way I would describe it is I've had quite a few different jobs, and I'd say the streaming fatigue is like if you have an adrenaline rush for 4 hours straight, and then you turn everything off.
Yeah.
That's how you'd feel.
Dude,
that's kind of the way I think I describe it.
Perfect.
That's a good way to put it.
Because as soon as you turn up a stream and you're done, you're like, oh my God, I feel horrible.
Yeah. But you're still like kind of up. But it's
then you stand up and you're like, okay, I really do not feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think the word gamer gunk, as gross as it is the most accurate description you can think of when it comes to like the physical feeling
bro,
of after being a stream. It's like a greasy, like
clammy,
half sweat.
I go straight in the shower.
You just feel like ass. Generally, you feel bad all the way through.
I really strongly think it wouldn't be nearly as bad if we didn't have to have lights.
The lights make it worse.
They make such a big difference.
The lights make it worse for sure.
I definitely used to have times where if I would be doing work, for example, an Easter egg release that I knew was going to be really intense and take a long time, I'd go no lights. Sure, it means that my stream is less good quality. You can't really see my face so well. I mean, a little bit in shadow, etc. More grainy. That 4K ISO comes in handy there. But at the end of the day, if that means that my brain is going to have an extra 12 hours of processing time because I've not burned it with these lights, and I'm not like
fried my own brain.
Yeah,
my own lights.
literally. And I'm not. It's like you've got another layer of skin on that's just all grease. It's horrible.
It's bad.
It's not good, man.
It's a very unique. It's a unique fatigue.
I hate it so much.
Yeah.
And it happens to all streamers and is just part of the sort of athleticism of being a streamer at this point.
The athleticism of sitting in a chair for 12 hours and not moving.
But
That's athletic.
you say that, but it's such an incredibly intensive thing to do.
Mentally, it's sure.
Yeah.
You're a
Yeah,
mental
that's what I'm
athlete.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously,
the physical, definitely not so much.
But do you not feel physically exhausted at the end of a stream? I often do.
It's a different feeling.
It's different.
Like when I have a 12-hour or 16-hour production day,
yeah.
that is physical fatigue. It's also mental fatigue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Depending on what role I'm playing that day. But
Sure.
Right.
if I'm playing like a more like an executive role, it's both.
Yeah.
But
Streaming is, to me, it's fully mental.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Like I feel gross.
You feel
but,
tired, but it's like
but it's mental.
the brain.
Yeah,
is
fair,
just-
Like
maybe-
I can come out of
it's-
that,
yeah.
and if I can get the mental in a better place, like I can go and do stuff physically. After working 12 hours production, I just want to lay down.
okay, that's fair. That
You
is
know?
fair.
And I think that's probably similar to retail. Like if you're walking around in a store all
Yes,
day for 12
yes.
hours and you're dealing with people, like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
probably
and you're on your feet the whole time. Yeah.
Maybe a bit of like your extroversion batteries have been drained and that kind of, and that's very different too from what this is. 'Cause
Yeah, that's a good way to
you're
put it.
talking for 4 hours.
That's
but-
a great way to put it. You don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And maybe you do want to work out. Maybe you do want to do
Sometimes
something.
a workout is good.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I-
when that headache kicks in for me,
Yeah.
that hand in the back of my skull, I need to. Yeah, I guess you guys don't feel that. Maybe that's just
that
me,
seems
man.
extreme.
No,
man.
Matt, with the
Dude,
adrenaline.
Adrenaline's the
it
best
is
way I
like
can put it.
riding adrenaline.
It's like
for
a
4
low
hours.
adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's not like a fight or flight situation, but it's
But
like
it's
it's
like-
definitely more like you are trying your best to be on top of your game mentally for the multitasking part of it,
Yeah.
the entertainment part of it. It's definitely some like adrenaline type feeling that just as soon as it ends, it hits you like, wow, I do not feel good.
And all of us have that as well when we're recording videos. It's not only a streaming thing, but all of us we switch ourselves on for content.
Yeah.
It's
Less so
happened
for
with-
this, I would say. This is different for me.
Yeah, somewhat. But I'm gonna hit stop recording. We're gonna turn the lights off, and I'm gonna go like this.
Yeah.
Like I just am.
I think we'd have the same conversation, but less animated.
Yeah,
Is what it
yeah.
is.
Yes.
I wouldn't be talking like
I'm
this.
thinking less hard. I'm thinking harder on camera than I am
Yeah,
off camera.
yeah.
But generally speaking, I'd say I'm pretty much going to talk the same way and feel the same way about
Right,
the conversation.
I just feel like with
With a video that I'm recording though, like a scripted
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
a
yeah.
like thing that I have like, okay, this is how I want it to look, how I want it to be. I agree.
yeah, and that intensity is a real skill that you don't realize you've built necessarily until you've done it and you've become successful, and then you have someone that doesn't know you're a content creator or something in the room with you. Maybe it's just a friend of yours from school or something. They're staying over. You start recording and they're like, you're a different person. What the hell is
just
going
turned
on?
on.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
It's a weird vibe. And you're just like,
it's so weird.
I am here to make content. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
I think everyone's a little different in that area for sure. We've talked about this prior, like maybe at Z House, I think, where it's like how they are off camera versus how they are on camera.
Yeah.
And some people are very different.
Yeah.
Some people are actually quite similar.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
there's definitely a range on that one.
Yeah.
Where do you think you are?
It depends what the content is.
I think you're close.
I'm similar. I would say
content does matter.
the
though,
content
yeah.
matters a lot.
Where are you most different?
I want to hear what you think.
I would say like in a Z House fit. Well, yes and no. Man, we just got so silly in Z House videos. Like it was so fun.
Keep the context, just so the viewers know what's going on. The Z
yeah.
House is a group house, like a team house. Think Phase House, that sort of thing. Team 10 House or whatever.
Sidemen.
We're like
Sidemen.
shooting
Well,
each other
some
with
don't have a
Nerf
house,
guns and
but
high
it was
eating weird
yeah,
sandwiches.
it was like group content, but in
Yeah.
2016. So early in the YouTube kind of timeline of groups making group content and having a house together.
Some called us out of our time.
It was
Yes.
a little
But
early.
that's
The
a
timing was bit
rabbit hole.
off.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
another day.
Combo for another day.
But-
You were saying in the Z House videos, Matt was different.
Like I want to say yes and no because I'm like, but that's like Matt too. You know?
I mean, obviously my personality is going to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
I would say the place I had to play it up the most was vlogging.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's
Ah.
where I was like, okay, I'm trying to be like other people that I've seen be successful in
Yeah.
vlogging. And this is not at all how I would normally talk to people, like, or a camera, or like, I would do things that I wouldn't do during the day normally.
Yeah,
Like go
I would
places
agree
and
with
try
that.
to shoot things and like try to make things more interesting than they might have actually been. Like that, I would say I played up way more than anything else.
Yeah.
The crypto content, is very much like I had someone else write 2 scripts for me and quickly realized there's no way I can do this because this is not at all what I think. And this is not at all what I would say. And this is not like this stuff is very to me, like I want it to be what I actually think and how I actually feel. It's very specific to, potentially financial returns to some degree, not financial advice, but it's opinionated a lot more than I'd say other things are maybe. So that's definitely more me when I'm writing the scripts.
Yeah.
This format to me is this is me. I would say I'm not that different here than I would be off camera.
Right. Yeah. I'd agree with that. I mean, you're maybe slightly more animated than you would be.
Right.
But,
I try to be more articulate
and
think a little harder on some things.
Yeah.
Give more effort, but.
Yeah. And you're working to maintain flow of conversation in a way that you wouldn't do if you were just talking to a mate on your sofa. Like,
I just
it doesn't matter where it goes.
I'd just be like, yeah, whatever, dude.
Yeah, you get on your phone and start tuning him out because he clearly does this to his family. Does it to his, like,
I ignore my family, my girlfriend.
That's the title. We figured it out. Where do you think you are?
Okay, so like even right now, I like don't feel like myself at all.
Yeah, you're not.
Not at all.
No, I noticed as soon as we started recording.
I know,
changed.
I'm on. But the weird thing is like I kind of like would like to be this person more.
That I feel like is very rare.
Yeah.
What is this person versus off camera?
Well, like I'm contributing more to the conversation, but I'm just like way more animated right now.
I think you're also more keen to sort of think about things in a communal way.
Yeah.
I guess. Like we had a little chat earlier at my Airbnb about some random philosophical stuff.
Yeah.
Unimportant to the context here, but it was just a philosophical conversation for 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And we had the chat about it, but I feel like here you would purposefully sink your teeth into that more.
Yeah.
If that's what we went.
And I think sometimes it's almost like I want to hold back because I don't want to be too much.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I'm holding myself back a little bit, I think.
Can't be doing that,
off
brother.
camera or on camera?
Off camera. Because I just don't
So
want
you're
to.
willing to say more on camera than off camera?
Yeah, because I
feel like that's not normal.
Yeah, because
backwards.
I feel like this is like, okay, like we're shooting a podcast. Like it's cool for me to like talk animated and energetic and sink my teeth into stuff. But in real life, maybe sometimes it's just like people don't want to sink their teeth into interesting things.
I don't think that's that uncommon. And I'll give you an example. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant that you are willing to share more and say more like wild thoughts, like no filter on camera.
I think that's
off
the same.
camera.
It's
It kind
sort
of
of the
is
same
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think that's that unusual because when it's for content, it's for content.
I feel very strongly against, personally at least.
Right.
That's interesting.
I am way, way different off camera.
Yes, you
sometimes than I am on camera. Like I definitely
You have a
streamline and filter for the videos.
Of course.
But not so much this one, but like, for example, like during the middle of the day, if I'm feeling weird, I'll like just burst out with some stupid sound. I would never do that on a video.
No,
right?
yeah.
Sure.
I was actually going to bring this up as
that's
an
more
example.
animated.
No, but this
right?
is the thing. What's really interesting, I don't know if you're conscious of this, but when we started talking about this, I was thinking about like how you're different off camera versus on. You have things that you do on camera that are different versions of things that you do off camera. You've just converted it. So an example of this
I'm curious.
is in a Z House vlog video, those weird noises and sounds and stuff that I know you do, the little like random or these things, they'll pop out. That's
like, I think that's like
true.
One of them.
That's actually
that's literally one of them, right? That will pop out in that content. That's exactly the same thing you do chasing your cat around the house.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Good point.
All
And
the time.
I tone that down a lot when you're here. It's way worse when you're not here.
But it's really interesting because I see you making these noises at Marley and having these like little playful moments, and it's so nice to see that you're like really happy with your cat. It's amazing. Like, and I'm only seeing the tip of the iceberg clearly.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating because I see that and I'm like, that's crazy because that's the same level of sort of joy that you might perceive in a video when you're pouring that same energy, that like playful, joyful energy into a moment for camera. But on camera, you're pouring it in there. Whereas with your cat, it's like, it's just coming out. You're just like organically
Yeah.
having a moment with your cat, which is really cool.
Yeah. I guess it's because, that's a good point. I mean, you're right. I think the way I perceive it or conceptualize it is like I'm filtering it on camera and I'm not filtering it when I'm just out and about around my house. I can be me and say whatever I want, do whatever I want, act however I want. And it's not like I'm not thinking about how someone might perceive that. On camera, I am. But in a weird way, the vlogs, you're right. I felt like I needed to be more animated and personality based because that's what drove the content.
Yep.
In these other channels, like maybe Reddit for You, Reddit for You is actually kind of, I could be quirky on that one too. But like top 10 trends, the crypto channel, even zombies was like, I felt like the purpose of the content, the value a viewer was getting out of it was the content and not as much my personality.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like generally speaking, and at least the most content I've done has been on those channels. So that's why I feel like I filter it down for those things and I'm not exactly the same.
It's a difficult place to be when you feel like you are only information in content. It's weird, man. And I guess this is something that you maybe experienced with the top 10 stuff to some extent, but I would probably say less so
I
than
felt like I was pretty personal with that. Like
you did videos. You added your own flair to it.
Yeah.
Like he did videos on Pokemon and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And those videos, funny enough, I think a lot of videos we made on that channel that we wanted to make were the best videos that I've ever posted view-wise on YouTube. Like I wanted to do Fortnite animations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those to this day are like 40 million views on one of them. It's like I've never done anything close to that ever since.
That's
like,
insane.
The second closest was Clash of Clans at like 7 or 8 million views.
Yeah.
And you did there was 2 videos. You did like a Harry Potter one or some kind of
Pokemon. So I did Pokemon You're Glad Don't Exist in Real Life and then Animals. And Animals You're Glad is my most viewed video I've ever uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah, even the Pokemon one though, people started copying you because those were like those always hit. Those were doing millions of views every time you put one out.
Yeah,
and that's like so that was cool. I thought like that we added our own stuff to it, and on that channel for whatever reason, those did exceptionally well view wise.
Fair. Okay, so I guess I was wrong in that regard. That maybe means that have you ever really gotten to a point where you've been worried about the fact that like your personality is not in the content enough? Because it's something that definitely for me I've struggled with at times.
For your Minecraft stuff, it's you're you, right? Like when you're exploring the world, I haven't watched the recent ones, so I don't know exactly, but it seems like you would be like you're adding your flair to it, you're experiencing the game, right? That's what it is.
Like I think I do feel like a lot of that is like me. And I think like if other people were to do exactly what I did, like it wouldn't be the same.
It would be different.
Because like I am adding my flair. Yeah.
So the Minecraft stuff, I feel like your personality naturally, whether you put it in or not, like or try to put it in or not, you're playing a game for 30 hours. It's going to show through at some point.
Yeah.
For the content I'm doing on my channel, I actively avoid I put some flair in it recently in my own personality in some of the recent videos. And now I'm wondering if this is why
and that's killed it
as well.
That's killed the channel, everybody.
No, like initially, like yes, it was like strictly like I am here to provide information and experience that I have in a easy to understand, educational, like edutainment type of way.
Yep.
Right?
And I relate to that with my content over the years for sure.
But I do think maybe it's because you've done it longer and you've had a chance to like grow that subscriber base and be more personal with them and have like this loyal audience. But I feel like if we both, for example, we both did your content, the exact same scripts, exact same way, you versus me, way more people would watch you because you're the guy. People know Mr. Roth Waffles as the zombie storyline guy.
But that doesn't...
And they like your style. And they know you are knowledgeable and are well at explaining. Like they know that. If it's the same exact video I did, I feel like you would still get more views because of
If it's the same video, we're doing the same script.
Yeah.
I guess
you could argue in over 13 years, maybe it wouldn't be that different.
Yeah.
I would argue it would. Because
maybe.
Because if it's the same scripts, right, you wrote all the scripts, right? So
I don't write the scripts. It comes out of my head.
Right. So you come up with it off the cuff. Like there's no way. I feel like
but that's
inherently your personality is part of it.
My personality is there insofar as I fairly strongly believe there is no one that can make my videos other than me. Like I
partially
think
because of your opinion.
Yeah, well, yes, it's partially opinion, but partially it's also that because I don't script them, if you tried to script a video of mine, it wouldn't work because I make the video and I'm talking and then I go on a tangent and I realize it's interesting to my interests. And so I'll be like, oh, I'm going to chase this rabbit hole for way too long in the video. And it doesn't make sense. If you're writing a script, you wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
You'd be like, that's a tangent, delete, line gone. Whereas with me, I go down there and I chase the rabbit hole because that to me is where so much of the interest is for the viewer, because they then are following my thought process and they're like, oh, we're really doing some exploring of this together.
And we're seeing your excitement.
Yes.
Like, and that shines through.
That's a big part of it. Yeah.
It's very like, you're excited about it, which means like there is reason to be excited about it. You know, like you're like almost like validating it.
Yes. Oh, that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I think that I've over the years definitely been very successful at creating an environment on my channel where my thrill and excitement and joy and wonder of what is going on in front of me has helped other people feel like it's cool for them to like it too.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And I think all of us do that in our own ways. I think that in certain areas, I've contributed in a very unique way. For instance, my reactions to some of the events that they did or first time playing type things when I would go to an actual capture event and record my first time playing, as opposed to just playing for the first time at home and doing a first time there. Those in the moment things where I'm in like a public place, but I'm playing the game and I'm loving it and I'm whooping and I'm having a great time and all those things are happening, it's just validating, right? And there's not been a huge amount of content like that, where it's the reveal event for Black Ops 4, which is COD came out in 2018, I believe it was. And they did this reveal event in this hangar in LA, I think in Hawthorne. Mm-hmm. And I have a reaction there, a reaction video series that I don't know if anyone else did reaction videos in the same way that I did. And they went viral as their own sort of silly meme because I'm there screaming my head off. And I'm just embodying the excitement that the fans had at the time at home. They couldn't be there. But I'm screaming and they're like, wow, he's lost his mind. And that makes me really want to play the game. And like, I'm vibing with it, right?
Yeah.
So I was sitting next to you for that.
Yeah, you're in the background of some of them and you're just like, oh, there's Matt.
The aftermath. The funny thing is that the aftermath of that was the complete opposite.
It was, unfortunately, but just to tie it back, I think that you're right that my personality shines through there in the sense that it's very me. But what's interesting is that isn't me. That's me playing me. That isn't me.
Yeah.
It's not actually you off camera.
I'm injecting a huge amount of the character I've made, but I'm not injecting a lot of me. And it sounds like you're doing a similar thing maybe, or starting to with your stuff, where you're injecting a character that you think is sanitary and fits on the channel. Yeah. You're not injecting you. Is that fair or no?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple edits from recent videos that are definitely me.
Okay.
Where I like the edit, like Mike was editing some of these, right? My brother.
Cool.
And he left some moments in that I did not intend to be in there. And they are very much me.
Good.
I think that's good.
I don't know if people liked it or not. It's hard to tell from the data. I didn't get any comments about it, so it's really hard to know. But
what I would say, I think, is like, I think we're both in a place right now where we're like uploading content to the algorithm more so than uploading content to subscribers.
I agree.
And like, I think it's good to throw some personality in there because that's where you're gonna find the.
I think that's how you build loyalty, really. Yeah. And now I'm really questioning if buying a teleprompter was the right move.
But I just to speak about going off the dome, I've done that since 2009.
But I've watched you do it, and you are very, very good at it.
Oh, I can do it till the cows come home.
You are. I would argue that you are one of the best I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of people do it. Like when we shoot people on set.
You mean with playback?
With team playback production. Like I've seen people, and then we've been in Z House. I watch people do it there. Like I've watched a bunch of people do their thing.
Yep.
You are by far the best I've ever seen in terms of like just improv. Yeah. Going off the head and articulating it in a way that makes sense and not screwing up. I can't even do, when I have an idea for a video and I know what I want to say, I still mess it up 4 times. Yeah. Right? Like I can't get it right. If I mess up one little syllable or one word, I'm like, dang, I sound like an idiot. I got to do it over.
But this is the thing. You
don't do that.
No, I don't.
And
and you do it for like 20 minutes straight and don't mess up. And I'm like, this guy is insane. How do you do this?
Like very precise with the words you even choose.
But this is the thing. This is what I'm saying with you. You buying a teleprompter sounds like it is exactly what you need for your content. It's not
That's true,
deviating
yeah.
from what
it helps with the efficiency.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't mess up as much.
Does it feel more mechanical? Like too mechanical?
Absolutely.
Too
Yeah.
mechanical.
I don't, now that we're having this conversation, I'm second guessing it a little bit. I'm like, you know what? This was a really good move because I've saved a bunch of time.
Yep.
Right? I know that once a script is done and
The video's
it's
finished, basically.
yeah, it'll take me 10 minutes to record and it's easy. I feel like I'm done when I'm done the script. And that's a great feeling because usually I feel like preparing to record a video is like an endeavor. I have to like prepare for it mentally and like sit down and do it. And like, it takes a lot out of me.
Yeah.
Now it's not like that. As soon as the script is done, I'm done. I turn the camera on, read the script with my inflections, how I want to pronounce it, and then I'm done.
So I would question how much you are losing for the gain of that efficiency. If you are losing personality,
that's why I'm second guessing it right now
What if-
because you're right. Like having those tangents, I think are actually critically important to making.
But hold your thought.
Yep.
I just really want to say the thing is with mine, when I was first making vlog content and that sort of thing in 2010, maybe. I don't know. Around
OG.
then, early days, I was a weird kid.
We all
Really
are.
weird. And I would sit there and force myself to do all my videos in one take. I would force myself to do it. And it would be on my iPhone 3GS. And I had to do it in one take for reasons that I don't understand. It wasn't really even a conscious decision. It was just, I'm doing it this way. This is how I'm doing it. Not only would I do that, I would also force myself, because I was a weird kid, to use loads of words that didn't need to be used to just make it sound more, I would say interesting, but it was
Intricate,
not interesting. More
complex.
intricate than it needed to be.
Yeah.
I would overcomplicate my language for the sake of it. And at the time, it meant the content was really bad and really embarrassing. But nowadays, it means that my on-air vocab is pretty good because I had 5 years of very cringeworthy sitting there knowing that this is a one-take video.
So
and
if you
I need
messed
to
up
put
a single
word out
word,
my
you'd have
arse.
to restart the whole thing.
Yeah, a lot of the time I would restart.
Okay.
So
that
it
would
was
be frustrating.
Yeah, and it was video after video after video of me.
Well, maybe that's why you're so good at it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That is why
Yeah.
I'm so good at it, because I've been doing this. I've put in my 50,000 hours, but it's at the point now where my content is only my content because of that groundwork. Your content would not benefit from tangents in the same way because your content is already really strong content without that. Whereas that is the fundamental core of a lot of the content I've made.
Yeah.
And if I take away the tangents with mine, it's not that it becomes slightly less interesting like with yours. It's that it stops being content. The video is not there. My discovery and creative process evaporates
Yeah, I
without
can see
that in a
that.
lot of ways.
The whiteboard inside your head.
The whiteboard inside my head, and sometimes the whiteboard that is physically there, and I talk through everything I'm doing on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to the viewer because I'm pulling them along on the journey that my brain is going through. And I think people love that. I think that's like a really powerful
I think people watch it.
tool.
Yeah, absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Could you leave a little room for tangents? Like not even tangents.
Oh, I could. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's I'm thinking to myself right now. That's what I'm going to have to do.
Like maybe.
and I've done it a little bit,
wing
but
an
not
intro,
not as
maybe.
much as like I feel like when I write the script, I would think the same things I'm thinking when I talk, right? Because I'm thinking the same way. I'm writing it versus on a computer or out loud. I'm still me thinking the same thing. So I imagine that when I write the script, I will have the same tangents that I'd have when I'm talking. So I'll probably get them in there anyway.
What if you tried something as well, like you write a script that's not bullets, it's more than bullets, it's more fleshed out than bullets, but it's not complete, it's not final draft, okay?
Yeah, that's how I did Fortnite.
Okay, so you have most of the content there in the script.
All the facts, all the details, the flow, but then you piece it together.
Improv.
Right, so that,
Yeah.
but then
do you read the screen, like read it over and then like do your whole lines? And then read it again and then do your, okay.
So like I got the flow, like, cause you're thinking out how the video is going to flow, but it's not exactly there. And then just like all that important information, that I'm sure you'd have in like an NFT video.
And it's a skill when you're doing that to be able to start riffing, but be conscious when your riff is getting boring.
Yeah.
That's a real skill because you'll be going off script and be like, yeah, it's more personality. It's more me. It's me taking it in an interesting direction.
It is.
But
I don't
very
think I'm
quickly,
very good at that, to be honest.
maybe you're not.
Maybe that's not maybe that's not what you should do. Like, I don't
maybe
know.
it's not necessary for your content as a possibility.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it depends on the type of content still. I'm still, this is still very new to me. I'm still exploring it. And I think to some degree, at some point, I need to add more of my.
I mean, I don't riff in guides for like my guides.
Right.
If you watch me
they're
make
no
a
nonsense.
guide, they're no nonsense guides. But if you watch me make a guide and I live stream when I'm making those guides, every single line I'm re-recording 6 times because it's no longer okay for me to go on a little bit of a tangent if it makes the content even 5% less clear.
Yeah.
I'm so maximizing for clarity in those moments, despite the fact that I'm always sleep deprived when I'm making them because we've just solved the Easter eggs. The tangents and all that stuff goes totally out of the window because I'm maximizing for only clarity, nothing else. Whereas with the tangents, I'd say maybe part of that is sort of optimizing for flavor. Maybe you could sort of say.
And you just don't want to get canceled for being nonsense in a no nonsense guy.
Yeah, I mean some of the guys that I've made definitely have some nonsense in them by choice or otherwise. Yeah,
like 5% nonsense.
Some of them are a lot more than that.
Bro, I will say I watched your most recent guide on whatever. I don't even know what the game is, and I could tell that you didn't want to make it at all. And to that, I say it is 100% nonsense.
It's 100% nonsense. I actually think I might have said at the beginning.
Actually, I think you did mention I don't want to be doing this exactly, but I'm doing it anyway.
Welcome to this
most likely
full nonsense guide.
But the thing it was about that is that I didn't need to be making the video. I was very aware the game handholds you through the stuff in there anyway. I don't want to talk about this too much here because it's probably not interesting to people. But the art of making a guide is its own beast. It really is. And just as for you, I would say the art of making a retrospective, there is so much that you will have iterated on in that formula.
That was the script.
Right.
Dude.
Yeah.
How long were those scripts?
Man, between 4 and 10 pages, maybe? Does that seem like a lot?
I don't know. I mean, I usually go by
No,
words.
that sounds pretty low to me.
Okay. I don't know. So the Origins was the longest. It was 39 minutes, I think.
Okay.
That was like that script sucked.
Yeah.
But that was a map I was really passionate to talk about. So it was okay. But some maps that I wasn't really into, I found the BO3 maps are just so clean that I don't know.
When you write a script, do you dictate or do you write?
I type.
You type. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just I don't like writing scripts.
I don't either.
It's
well, can I jump in? Just something I wanted to say a second ago. When you're doing that process that you mentioned of having a mostly done script, right?
Yeah.
Something you could do if you're really set on using the teleprompter for editing efficiency is record yourself doing the script, right? But just audio. Just do audio of you recording the script that you've got, the mostly done one, and just do it as dictation. And then you've got it as teleprompter, and then read what you've said. And clean it up, delete little bits.
I've considered doing that
stuff like
actually, because I find that I can't type as quickly as my thoughts are coming.
Yes, yeah, and that's why I just wanted to jump in there because dictation is so useful sometimes.
Yeah, that is a really good point. But I don't know. I think I've kind of done the whole spectrum of completely winging content, kind of what you did. Live streaming is kind of that too, all the way to full thought out script for the retrospectives. Man, I hate scripting content. It's just for me anyway, it's not the way my brain works, and I don't think it's the way, kind of like you, Milo, that I think I do better work on the fly sometimes. Not always, because it's a little more chaotic, but you can fix that up in editing.
Yeah.
I think also when you're writing a script, it doesn't really feel like you're making a YouTube video.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And we're YouTubers, or partially at least. And it's another thing that goes back to what we were saying sort of towards the start, where in some ways making content these days doesn't feel like making content. It feels like pleasing the algorithm.
Yeah.
And writing a script feels like I'm not making content. There's something else about that I really don't
you're a journalist now.
Yeah,
you're
which I'm not keen on at all.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Finding ways to remove that from the process while still reaping the benefits that come from having a script, like you're saying, means that you have a teleprompter, which means that you can get things edited infinitely more quickly because there's so many fewer mistakes and all those sorts of things. Very beneficial. But
does.
It works. Good. It works for certain kind of content, but not for a lot. I mean, the creative, like it's definitely less creative, I would say.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's own creative less art. Creative.
Yeah. I agree with you there, and it sucks. I hate it.
Okay, so like the last question I was going to ask you guys is, in terms of content, because that's what we've talked about most of the time.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going in the future?
Man,
like what do you think your goals are as of right now? I always like to do this. I have a 5-year plan, right? Actually, it's coming up in 6 days.
Oh, wow.
No.
In 6 days, my 5-year plan is up from 5 years ago that I wrote.
Whoa.
And I'm going to read it. And I'm so excited because I don't remember what I wrote.
Whoa.
But I'm going to do it again.
That's cool as hell.
Yes. I'm going to do it again after this one's done and predict where, or it's a prediction, somewhat biased, I'd say, about where I want to be and what I want to do. I'm curious what you guys think yours are. And I think people do not think about this enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Jess is always talking about the future. Jess is my girlfriend. She's always talking about the future and and I'm usually like, I like to focus on right now and baby steps, like day to day on how we're going to get to where I know I kind of know where I want to be. But there are certain times where I'm like, it's important that you write it out or at least really think about it so that you know where you're going still.
It has to be like concrete.
And if each day you're not doing something, at least one thing that's a small step towards where you think you want to be, you're doing it wrong. Looking at you.
Excuse me?
No, I'm kidding.
No. I think it's justified.
This being here, doing this right now is, I think, in some way the right direction.
I think so.
It may not be anywhere near what you end up, but I think doing this can only help.
I think so.
I think my biggest problem right now, less than it was like a year ago. Like a year ago, I had very little direction. I don't feel like I have as many goals as I once did. In the sense that like when I was a younger YouTuber trying to establish myself, I was so single-minded on becoming a successful YouTuber. And there was like, it's so awesome in that hustle. And that like it's so pure and like wholesome. But if I was like trying to still be like that, it's like, is that going to contribute to like me being happiest? And I don't think that is anymore.
Yep.
Because like I am a successful YouTuber and like there's so much more to life than that. So my problem is like I don't maybe not my problem, but I right now feel like I don't have as many goals and I'm playing it kind of loose right now, which is different for me, but I'm not sure if I like it. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't feel like I have concrete goals. Like it's like I really would like Nifty Smith to hit 1 million subs,
which is your Minecraft channel.
Which is my Minecraft channel, because like hitting him, that's a big milestone. But it's like it could also not happen, and it's fine because I've hit 1 million subs before. You know, and a lot of my goals feel like I kind of want to just like have fun and like enjoy my day to day, which feels like kind of growing up maybe a little bit. But I just like, I don't find I have those like goals anymore. And I'm like, man, am I getting like soft? You know, am I losing my edge as a YouTuber? You know, but it's like last year, like I was just not happy, and it was like COVID and like a million other things. But I was like I had depression, and I took a long time to accept that in myself, like accept that, because I was like, no, like I have a good life, but I was depressed, and like I had zero direction, and that felt bad, you know? So I'm like, there is like an important tie between direction and like goals and being happy, like feeling like you're going in the right place. And I don't feel like right now I'm going in the right place, but I feel like I'm in a good place, and maybe I should just enjoy that.
Do you think you'll be a YouTuber in 5 years?
Man, okay.
Yeah.
You asked me this at the second Z House, like one of our very last nights. We had a long chat, as we always did there. But like
summer 2017.
Yeah, so that was 5 years ago.
It's been almost 6 years.
And I remember you asking me. This was when I was still purely on zombies. Like I was like, it might not be zombies, but I was like, yeah, I think I'll be still doing that. And 5 years later, yeah. And like I've explored the music thing, and I'm excited about it. But there's something also about me that I feel like like I've been making YouTube videos since I was like 10. And
Yeah.
even before YouTube was a thing, I was making videos with my friends in my backyard.
Same.
And it's like when people talk about things that like they're like, you know, really good at and like passionate and an expert and excited on, it's always like the thing that they started doing. Like I started singing when I was 10, you know, when I was 3 years old,
Right.
you know? And I'm like, I just sometimes think I'm like, maybe like YouTube is my thing, you know? YouTube is my thing. And maybe that is
okay.
just the thing. Yeah.
And that's okay.
You know, like I don't have to go and like can enjoy music and see what comes of it. But it's like, I don't think like music will be my thing more than YouTube, because if it was, I would have, you know, done that from the start.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I feel like you struggle with a lot of the same sorts of things that I struggle with in terms of being okay with being directionless. And when that's
you're kinda
difficult,
like
it's
there,
really difficult.
right,
And,
yeah.
and when it's fine, when you're content, life's good. Like you don't have a direction necessarily, or don't feel a strong direction right now, but you're at peace with that. But sometimes you're not. And I definitely have felt that in a big way over the years, where there's times where I have direction and I'm the happiest I've ever been, because I am going somewhere and it's like I'm being pulled and it's a strong pull. And then there have been times where I've been like, well, I don't have a lot of direction right now. And it's eaten me up every single day. But one of my goals for the next 5 years, I would say, is to more consistently find healthy coping mechanisms to deal in the day-to-day with those days where I feel like I can't cope with not having direction. It's something that I've struggled with so much in my life. I knew exactly where I was going when I was at university. I knew exactly where I was going.
Where was it?
I was doing a physics degree, no matter what. I probably knew that since I was 10 years old. I was going to be doing a physics degree. And I got to the university application process and I got my offers and I went off and did a physics degree. Simultaneously, I had a YouTube channel. I didn't think I'm going to do this as a career because it didn't exist as a career back then. But I thought, this is my biggest hobby. I'm going to keep making YouTube videos. It got popular. I found success in it, have continued doing it since. And the direction felt given to me. A gift on my plate, served up, success with a YouTube channel. Obviously, I'm going to go in that direction. Physics degree. I'm great at physics. Obviously, I'm going to go in that direction. I get to the end of the physics degree. I get through some incredibly successful years of YouTube. I have one down year. I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this. I've not been in a position before in my life where the thing that I've been applying myself to is no longer looking like it's the obvious thing for me to keep applying myself to, which is a very lucky position to be in. But I think I got there because I happened to be good at the things that I was applying myself to. I was good at physics. So there wasn't a point where I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like I've fallen behind the cohort and I can't keep up. I didn't have that issue. I found success while I was already busy with the physics degree. So the fact that I wasn't successful for 6 entire years before I found any success on my channel wasn't a problem. It wasn't, oh, I'm behind or anything like that. It was a hobby. And then it was an obvious thing after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was great. I was doing an obvious thing. Not having an obvious thing in the past has eaten me up massively.
I think that'd be the case for a lot of people.
I think so. And I think so many people get to the stage where they're about to apply to university and they don't know what the obvious thing is for them. They don't know what subject to pick. So their parents basically pick for them. Their parents maybe want them to be a doctor, maybe want them to be an accountant. They have some kind of preconceived ideas of what their kid should do. So the kid just goes along with it. They end up unhappy. They hate the degree. They drop out maybe, or they just have a bad time or whatever. They end up on someone else's life track, but not theirs. Other people, they finish the degree and then they're like, well, I need to find work now. I need to find a job. Same thing happens. And this is widespread, right? It isn't necessarily clear what you should be doing. There's no astral projection into your brain saying this is your calling. And so people just drift and they drift and they drift and they drift. And for some people, they never get out of that rut. And that's dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, you just like saying that. I'm like, oh, that's scary. Whoa, I don't
Yeah.
want to be around those words.
Right. and it's something that I think any person can get into that place and then wake up and they're 70 years old.
Yeah, and that's like the fear.
Right.
I think that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of people.
It could be someone listening to this right now that is just sort
There's
of
a good chance.
going with the flow.
And you may not, some people may be like you are more attentive to the fact that I don't feel like I have a clear direction and I know what I'm good at. And if I'm not doing those things, I feel like I'm lost.
Yeah.
Some people might not recognize that. They might just accept that this is what society has set forth.
Yeah.
And we're going to just go along with emotions because this is what society says I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
I think that's the majority of people. And this is something that I've noticed about myself. I love talking about this topic because I feel like more people need to explore stuff that they like to do.
Yeah.
And just try.
Yeah.
You're going to fail at a couple things, but try.
Absolutely.
And I think JC said this is my biggest flaw, right? That my biggest weakness, but it's also one of my greatest strengths.
Yep.
True.
Is that I try and I do too many things, which is fair. But I can tell you right now that there's not been a single day in the last like 7 or 8 years where I haven't been happy as shit. Because I'm doing stuff that I like to do.
Yeah.
And some of it's worked out and some of it hasn't. But if it doesn't work out, I just move on to the other thing that I keep trying new things until I find stuff that does work and I also like.
It's not about succeeding. It's about trying. It's about doing.
It's the journey that matters.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
100%.
Because I will say that
struggle
like
with
once,
that, but
yeah.
Oh,
I think we've all,
like
all
it's hard to
it is hard
be
to
okay
find
with that.
It's hard to find.
Yeah.
I think the only time where I was like a little confused and lost was we were doing top 10 trends.
Yeah.
And we finished that, and Z House was no longer a thing.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't come together again for that. I knew zombies wasn't my thing, and it was kind of moving on from that period of time. I didn't really want to keep doing gaming content. I was kind of like, you know, what, like all the things that have done well for me in the past that I had some interest in, I don't really have interest in anymore, or they're not happening anymore. What do I do? And then I started the thing with Mike because I know I've always loved to do like the creative team playback, right? It's a production company. I've always loved to shoot content, make content, like whether it's YouTube, whether it's just the home video stuff. It's like, why not try to do it like on a more professional, formal degree? And we did that, and it's going super well. I love doing it. We're still doing it, even though we've had all these other businesses that have, you know, popped up in the meantime that have done also super well. So I would just say, like, my advice from someone who's tried a bunch of stuff, failed at a bunch of stuff, and also had success with some things, like, why not try it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt to try it.
I agree.
You're going to fail some things. You have to know that going into it. So don't be afraid to fail because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just accept that you are going to fail at some point. Like Reddit for you, failure. Let's be honest.
This is another YouTube channel.
Another YouTube channel I tried. That one was along the lines of top 10 trends where I wanted to do it because I thought it would do well. Not necessarily because I loved the content. But the fact that I was able to make content and have it be successful is enough for me usually. It failed. It didn't work out like we hoped it would, right? And there's other channels too that have come and gone and no one even knows about them, some of them. That's just part of it though. I know about Irrelevant. Irrelevant failed. Like Irrelevant, it was a great start. We wanted to do a podcast. We did it. We spent the money put together. We put the time in. People liked it, but ultimately it failed.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't
Podcasts are hard.
Podcasts are hard. It wasn't the right timing. We didn't have the right, guests, the right setup, whatever it is. Like it failed ultimately, but we're still doing a podcast right now. This may also fail, but I'm getting a hell of a lot out of it and I'm enjoying it. So
Same.
I'm continuing to move on, even if these things that I'm doing, like the businesses or the brands that I'm building, if they fail, I'm still progressing.
Yep.
And ultimately that's all that matters for my happiness.
And so to relate that back to what I was saying about trying to avoid getting into that stagnation point, right? Is I think one of my flaws is that I'm this raging bundle of focus and energy and like that tunnel vision thing, right? The lighthouse light is there. And for me to commit to pouring that light onto something for a matter of years takes a huge amount of swinging that whole apparatus around, right? And I really, really struggle to do that because I struggle to be confident, I guess, in the fact that I'm making the right call. And I think it's actually a problem I've had my whole life where I've just had too many options, and too many options means I do none because I'm like, well, I could be doing this right now, but I could be doing 15 other things. When I was in school,
you don't think you're capable of trying a couple at once?
maybe I could do a couple at once. Maybe
like
maybe that's the way to sort of
issue thing, or is it like a fear of failure, or is it?
I think it's just that when I was in school, I was pretty much equally good at all subjects.
Okay.
And so
that's impressive because I know you're really good at physics.
Right, but like
I asked him for a question about physics one time at college, and I was like, I literally have no clue what you're saying, but it was right, and I got the work done. I was like, thank God I knew this guy because I literally had no clue what was going on.
I don't remember that, but that's really funny.
Yeah.
But so in school, I was equally good at all my subjects. I just got top marks and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that meant that it was really difficult to know which subject to pick. It happened to be that I was just marginally even better at physics than the other stuff.
Mm.
And so I did physics because it was also like the hardest. And I was like, I'm going to prove to myself that I can do that.
Gotcha.
That was one of those situations where I nearly did history, which is the opposite of physics.
It's very,
literal opposite. 23 contact hours a week versus 4 contact hours a week for history. Like totally different experiences, etc. Then I got out of the degree and I was like, well, I've got YouTube right now and YouTube's encompassing me, so I'm going to do this. But I could also have just gone into research. I did an internship in a dark energy research lab when I was between high school and my degree. I could have just gone back. I could have easily done that. I could have continued my final project, which was working on hydrodynamic synchronization of micro machines, which no one cares about. But I could have totally gone into research in that field. It was an option. I could have gone in, and that's the thing. Physics opens the most doors, I feel like, out of any degree. I fairly strongly believe that. It opens so many doors because you have all the math and all that side of things, but you also have a side of critical thinking that you don't necessarily get with some of the more pure mathy subjects. Not that physics isn't pure math, but maybe, hopefully you take my point. And the doors opened by a physics degree are infinite and vast. And that stops me doing anything because I'm like, I could become.
Do you still feel like you could still do all this stuff?
Yes.
Is that still like an option in your head?
Yes. Like confidently.
So
I could go into any career right now.
So why have you not done
do
anything physics related since you left school?
I'm not interested in it.
Okay, so it's not an option.
It's no, it's an option in that I could do it.
No, you just told me it's not an option.
Yeah, because you're not.
Okay,
sure, go do it, and in 3 months you realize, okay, I'm actually not interested in this. It's not an option. You're smart enough to know that you would not go down that path when you know you're not interested already.
I think I could be fulfilled in research.
Fulfilled and interested are different things.
No. As in fulfilled because I would be interested in what I would be doing.
But you just said you're not interested in it.
As in I don't want to right now. Yeah.
Right now or at all?
Right now, not at
so
all.
You think you could at a given time?
Dude, last year I nearly went back to school.
Okay, fair.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
For more physics.
So why right now are you not interested then? Because there's other things that are more enticing?
Because I think maybe it would be the same reason I'm not doing all the other things I could be doing right now, which is that
you have commitment issues.
I really struggle to
Let me just shed some of the I'll try anything at any time.
I think,
dude, give it to I mean that's part of the reason why when we started this. Sorry, Pat, to cut you off a second time here, but
you're not getting a word in here. Clearly,
I'm sorry, but when I was in your car, and you were like, you won't say yes to this. I was like, you know what? Pardon my language, but I fucking will. It's rare for me to be like, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna totally commit myself to making this happen. I'm gonna do whatever work is needed in order to make it happen. And I think you'll agree, we're making it happen right now.
I would say that from what I know about you, when you commit to something and you plan it, you follow through.
It happens
every single time.
Right. It's just that.
So when I said shake my hand on it and you shook my hand, I'm like, okay, then we're actually doing this.
Yes, I think those were your exact words.
Because I believe you. Because your word's bond. Like it means something.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I struggle to flippantly throw that around at things that might not stick. Because in my head it's like, if I'm doing it, it's gonna stick.
Okay, so you just decided that this podcast is a thing.
I committed to a season, Matt.
No. You can't take back. You can't. You literally just said, if I do something, it's going to stick. And you shook my hand and said, we're doing this.
Your interpretation of stick here.
Are you going to come up with some physics equations to tell me that this is not how it is?
I like this dynamic. I think this is good. Like you two. I think you guys are a good.
I do as well. I am really thoroughly enjoying doing this.
Yeah.
I've also cut you off like 4 times, so
yeah. Well, that thought's gone. But
oh no.
But I think
God.
I like this dynamic. I mean, you guys. I've seen you have like very long chats in Discord. And I've had really long chats with both of you in Discord.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like it. I think, I don't know, you got like, it's a podcast. It's hard.
It is.
You got to find some legs, but like I'm watching this podcast take place and I'm like, this is good.
I'm so sorry. That sounds awful because it's like you've been invited on.
This is our guest and he's watching us.
He's watching it take place.
Whether or not it's going to continue.
Clearly you have a lot to say. So that's like,
I'm so sorry,
great.
Pat.
No, I feel like I've got a lot in it. I mean, I'm a like real jet lagged. So
yeah,
I'm not as feisty as
and
I
we're
might
hungry.
always be. We are a little hungry.
So
I think it's a good place to
we're going to
call
leave it there. But the question for you listening, reading, watching, etc. right now is
You're hurting watch time.
where are you going to be in 5 years? Bye.
I will say, yeah, it's worthwhile to write it down and just see. Because it makes you start to think about, what do I actually want in life? And that's never a bad thing to think about.
Yeah, I might do that.
It may be a little tough mentally to be like, oh, well, maybe some people are like, oh, I don't want to think about what I'm going to do in the future because
It's
then
scary.
they're like, what am I doing right now with my life?
Yeah, it's super
But
scary.
If you don't, if you try to take it in the positive light and say like, these are the goals I want to work towards, start working towards them. I think you will be way happier in the long run if you just give it a little chance.